Okay.
Good evening. Welcome to the March meeting of Hayfield Parish Council. First of all, I'd like to ask for a minute's silence following the sad passing of ex-parish councillor and ex-borough councillor David Mellor. David was on the parish council between 1980 and 2005. He resigned from the parish council because he was on the borough council double ratings committee, and he was told he'd got a conflict of interest, so he resigned from the parish in 2005. He was borough councillor for Hayfield from 1983 until him standing down at the 2015 election. So if I could ask you to have a minute's silence for David. Okay, thanks everyone for that. I must say, I perhaps should have said that it was the first time I've seen a funeral quotation. It made me smile when I saw the wellies on the back of the trailer. A bit of levity on a sad occasion. Okay, to receive apologies for absence. That I understand there's no apologies for absence, except that Jackie is having trouble.
Yeah, she's just phoned through to say there's a bad internet connection over on the Isle of Man. So apologies if she doesn't get through for the entire meeting. Okay.
Variations of order of business. Are there any suggestions? I think item 14 we need to take in part 2. So I'll propose that item 14 is taken in part 2. Are we all in favour of that?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Declaration of interest as Dave Gates.
Item 10, Chair.
Thank you. The planning application from Walkers are welcome. Great. Are there any requests for dispensations from members on matters which they have a...
It's on the floor there.
I can't see it.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Is that somebody's television? All right, okay, I'll take it. There's none. We've already determined which agenda item will be taken with the public excluded. Public meeting, speaking. Eva, have you anything to say as
no, I've nothing to say. No.
Okay, I have 1 or 2 bits, but I'll keep it for the chair's announcements. To confirm the minutes of the previous meetings, the Parish Council meeting of the 3rd of February, will someone move those, please?
I'll move them.
Thanks, Dave Toft, and seconded Eva. All in favour? Yeah, great. The Finance Committee, which I wasn't present at, of the 17th of February.
I'll propose them.
Thanks, Eva. Is that you seconding them, Martin?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I'll take those as approved. Chair's announcements. I think just a couple of things, really. The Borough Council have said that they are going to remove the council tax support grant, which has been paid for a number of years, and which we receive £3,582 each year. I understand, although it's not been officially confirmed, that this will be done in 3 stages. In other words, we will lose just under £1,200 next financial year. 22-23. Another £1,200 the following year, and it will go completely the year after that. So that's something that we've got the money the forthcoming year, but it's something that we will have to plan in our budget calculations. Other than that, I see that dog poo is becoming an issue in the village, and I would just ask that anybody who sees the culprits reports them. I just think this day and age it's a sorry state of affairs. Came past the post office the other day, and there they were cleaning out dog poo from near their doorway. I just think that's pretty sad. And that's it. Item 9 is the clerk's report. Andy, have you?
There's a few bits to expand on. The casual vacancy, you're aware, was posted on Monday the 22nd. We're nearly, the 10 days is nearly up, and I've had no notification from the borough. So you may in April be asked to invoke your co-option process. The Old School Field, you're going to talk about bits of that later under other resolutions, but I did do a site visit there, and we are taking items on tendering as private in part 2. I'll mention the community orchard just to give you a legal position on it, which is coming up as item 22112. That I attended a meeting with councillors Hughes and Toft and those persons with an interest in the project, both current and historic. As I say in my report, the conclusion from those present is they would ask yourselves to take over or confirm the management and running of the project. And I then sought advice as to if we were to run it, what would it be, a subcommittee or an advisory group? And Delk's advice was that if this group is it must be more than 2 councillors running, it's meeting only 3 times a year and has no devolved powers. If that's your decision, then an advisory group will be the best way forward, as a committee would be a sledgehammer to smash a nut. What I would say as the proper officer, though, is that anything that happens, if that is your decision, anything that's happened beforehand must stop and be disbanded and start again. Because anything beforehand was beyond the law, was ultra virus, whatever you want to call it, if it was a parish council run group. If you make that resolution, you make the group, then although you disband it, the same people can go again. But that's the legal position. You get rid of anything that's happened up to today and you start again. The tree survey results, you'll understand we had issues with that very large horse chestnuts, and myself and the chair thought for safety of pedestrians, we'd ask the tree surveyor to come back, and he did. And I did a site visit with him. He believes that rather large specimen has life still in it, and we'll send a recommendation to do a little bit more pruning on it. I've mentioned the Civic Trust building up a head of steam to bring to you April proper plans for the Memorial Garden. I'm just struggling to get one more like-for-like quote, so I may come round for yourselves for local landscape gardeners who could assist. In terms of the plaques, very nice response so far from lots of groups who committed to pay: St Matthew's Church, the Cricket Club, the Civic Trust, the Trespass Group, and a few others. And that recouped monies, you may be able, your decision, but you may want to turn it around and fill spaces sooner rather than later with some iconic views and images of the village. The other thing to bring up, which will be covered in greater detail when you get to traffic management, is the traffic committee, councillors Lawson, Toft and Conway, and the chair and myself met to discuss a way of alleviating the anticipated issues we will get this summer. And I'll let Councillor Lawson tell you what was the chosen response to try and make the problems we're going to get slightly better than they were. And that's it from myself. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Any questions for Andy on his report? No. Okay. We'll move to the one planning application, HPK 2021 0002. This is, well, basically we're financing this. It's been through the Parish Council already. There was some debate about it. Some of us were less enthusiastic than others, but I think it's fair to say that a decision, a democratic decision, was taken to support it. So I think we'd look rather silly to place any opposition at the present time. Does anybody want to make a comment or suggestion on how we should comment it? Dave Toft.
Only a couple of things. Yeah, I mean, I think the controversy with it was that obviously, ideally, the information centre would be in the bus station before people arrive at Bowden Bridge. But I think what came up in the last one was that the idea for Walkers Are Welcome is that they have both. So they're pursuing the bus station, as I understand it, but people will still go to Bowden Bridge, and then they will be given information as to other routes they could take when they come for a second time to Hayfield and so on. The only other thing is that I think somebody has raised whether it needs planning permission. Yeah. I don't know if any other councillors have come across that.
I think that.
So we need to keep an eye on that because we've paid for the submission. I don't know what the situation is if it's then found that it doesn't actually need it in the first place.
Eva.
I've been led to believe it doesn't need planning permission, so obviously the money would be better back in the kitty, wouldn't it, if that's correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I was going to say that I looked on the Borough Council website for the particulars and couldn't find any.
No, I couldn't.
It's detailed and that it's a delegated decision, but there's no information with it, which would suggest to me that it doesn't need planning application.
Right.
So we'll keep but just in case it does, I think we should make a comment. Do we just want to say that we're supportive?
Yeah, I'll propose that. Yeah.
Okay, I'll second that. All those in favour? All those against? Abstentions? Okay, that's carried. Fine. Watch this space for the £234. The use of the Parish Council logo. This was brought to the last meeting and clarification was sought, but then we found out that we had the information at the time where I, amongst others, had not scrolled down far enough on the email. Kath, I think this was your idea. Do you want to say anything?
Oh
no, it was Mick, wasn't it? I beg your pardon, it was Mick.
No, mine was the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my fault entirely. The fact that, I mean, you might want to take some share of the blame, not scrolling down, but it was my presentation to the council, so I should have alerted you to the fact that we needed to scroll down. So I take full responsibility for that. All the items that were raised, like for example, Jackie raised the fact that the DCC should be on the original because they are the people putting out the grants, etc. All those things are covered, I believe, on the actual documentation. So now we've all read it, I suppose we can just go straight to the vote.
Okay, do you want to propose it, Mick?
Yeah, I'll propose it, yeah.
Okay, Dave Toft seconding it. All those in favour, unless anybody else has got a comment to make? No? I'm in favour as well.
Great.
I'll say that as unanimous. Right, the community orchard, which you've already alluded to, Andy, do you want to say any more on that?
I'll pass over to the two councillors who were present, and will Councillors Toft and Councillor Hughes are present, and they can say what the views of the group were.
Who wants to lead us off? Dave Toft.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a very good meeting, and we had people there from Sustainable Hayfield and from the allotments and so on. So we were getting quite a lot of technical advice as well. And we went through the sort of discussions that we'd had here about whether it was even in the interests of the orchard group to come under the parish council because of the restrictions that that might bring with it. And we also looked at what the alternatives would be, what the current situation was, which had become very grey over the years. And I think I'm right, Kath, that at the end, what we wanted was a situation where it was, and as it happens, the legal advisors back this as well, where we weren't an actual full committee of the council, because it's not a huge thing in itself, as several people said. It only needs to meet 3 times a year. It's not an ongoing huge issue, really. And so the feeling there, I think, was for a group of some sort that was under the within the parish council, if you like, but at arm's length, and not an actual committee. And a group, I think, seemed to me the one that got the most support. And actually, it's interesting that Dalk have suggested that is the way forward as well.
Kath?
Yes, I mean, the trees will always be on parish council land. We've never had any ambitions to plant any on private land. The only place we were going to extend to was a plot of land which is parish council land that we'd identified. So the two are joined at the hip, I think. I think, you know, it'll never be independent. It'll always be answerable to the parish council.
Okay, thanks, Kath. So, Dave, your proposal is that it becomes a group?
That it becomes, as Doubt defines it, an advisory group of the council with a minimum of 2 councillors on it. It's an advisory group only, there's no devolved powers, and it would meet under normal circumstances 3 times a year, spring, summer and autumn, I think was the advice we got at the meeting. Now, obviously, as with anything else, if anything arose, then there could be additional meetings. But the proposal would be that it's set up under that structure. 3 meetings a year, 2 councillors.
Fine.
And advisory only.
Are you going to second that, Kath?
Yes, certainly will.
Okay.
Yes.
All those in favour? Okay, thank you. That's carried unanimously. Item 14, the old school, we've already decided that needs to be in part 2.
Yeah. Who are your 2 councillors? You've established a group. Who are your 2 councillors on the group? Because you move on.
Myself and David, I presume.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. If that's
Yeah.
Is everybody happy with that?
Mm-hmm. Do we need to
I'm
vote?
getting lots of nods. So
Yeah.
So councillors Toft and Hughes are the 2. Yeah, and I think, you know, if you ever need any hands or you know, just shout out. I'm sure there'll be.
Oh, we will. We will.
I'm sure there'll be people prepared to you know, to give a morning or something.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, the old Schoolfield boundary.
You've got a number 13. You've got an actual purchase request.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Yes, is that from you, Kath? The community orchard purchase request?
Yes. Councillor Lawson pointed out at the last meeting that the tree guards were getting a bit worse for wear, and some were missing and some were broken. So we'd like to buy 45. We're not changing them all on all the trees, just the ones that are on the thoroughfares going through Valley Road and the old school field. So the robust ones were about £2 each. I think it came to £99 something or other for 40 odd. And we would also like to request, would it be possible that the gardeners, whoever's mowing the lawns, could they possibly not crash into the tree guards and do round the trees with clippers instead of bashing the lawnmower into the tree guards, because that's what's causing most of the damage.
Eva, you got your hand up.
Yeah, the stuff that is required from the orchard project surely should be ordered through Andy now.
Yes, it should.
Yeah, it will be.
It
will
should.
be.
But
Yeah.
if we put a figure on it, and then Andy can come back if it's substantially more than that. But you're absolutely right, Eva. These guards, I believe there's none that are ideal, but some of them do decompose in the fullness of time, don't they? 25 years or something.
Yeah.
Kath.
Well, nothing lasts forever.
I think that would be a good thing, rather than these plastic ones that they used to be, which last for a long time. They don't decompose. So can we ask Andy to investigate the purchase of the 45 tree guards and report back to us if it's substantially above £100?
Around 100 quid, Kath, for 40.
Well, that's what I priced them at. I found some with a supply. Well, it was one of the group or the committee found them for me. They were robust, quite low priced, and they looked nice as well. They're slightly different from the brown ones that are around them now, but they serve the same purpose.
So I got 100 quid in my head, and with a variation either way. If it's substantially more,
Mick, you wanted to make a point.
Yeah, can we make sure that what you said is like a proviso that we do use the ones that decompose?
Yeah.
Make that as a certainty. As it
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
I think they're like 20 years before they decompose, but at least they do decompose.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be back again in 20 years' time for replacements.
I won't be here to answer you anyway.
Neither will I, hopefully.
Okay, so we're all agreed on that. I don't think we need a vote, do we, on that one? Getting nods of agreement. All right. So
and would that be possible, Andy, to talk to the gardeners that mow the lawns to clip around them?
I think you might have to. Well, some of the mowing, remember, is DCC with large.
Is it?
But they don't go up to the trees.
But Graham, you might want to have a chat with Graham, who occasionally feels he's going to have his eye taken out due to pruning. So maybe a little chat between the group and the gardeners off camera, as it were.
Okay. Right.
Perhaps they could, if possible, they could perhaps string around them.
Yeah.
That might be
that's what we're asking.
Feasible.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Rather than somebody getting on their hands and knees 45 times. So.
Yeah. And clipping them.
Yeah. Okay. As I was trying to do earlier, prematurely, Old Schoolfield boundary. Andy, were you?
Yeah, I and it's going to be serious. I totally misunderstood the discussion last time. I thought we were plugging a small gap between our land and the A624. And following a site visit with yourself and Councillor Lawson, I suddenly realised that it was an enormous great length of hedging we were talking about, which was well beyond what I thought your resolution was last time. So I just feel I had misled you, or I was certainly not seeing it for what it was last month. And I wanted you to have an opportunity to say exactly what you wanted us to do. Those of you with long memories will remember down near the footpath was an enormous great wooden fence that rotted and went away. And I think you measured it, Chair, at about how many yards?
105 yards approximately.
So whereas I thought we might put in a 12-foot hedge in to block a small gap, it's considerably different.
Oh yeah.
What I asked you to resolve on. So I'm out of here as the clerk, and I just give council an opportunity to discuss it in full.
Can I just make another point? For clarity, and you're probably all aware of this. At the moment, we've got a a fence. Well, Derbyshire County Council have got a fence which runs along two sides down into the old school field. Then there's this gap. Some on our land, it's 105 yards. I would estimate that there's about another 25 yards, which is not on our land. So even if we put the hedge in, we couldn't have a right put a hedge in to complete the gap. Two other issues: the fence that is that runs at an angle is not in good condition.
No.
And the original thing was to try and stop children and dogs from getting onto the road. I think if there was a hedge that ran the whole length, the 105 yards of ours plus the other, that would stop the children, but the dogs would easily get through the post and rail fence that runs at an angle. So that's the best way that I can describe it. But where we go from now, so I open to comments. Kath.
Did you get a chance? I'm sorry, the report didn't come through till this morning. Paul Finn, who's just recently retired from DCC, came on the site visit with us, and he had quite a few comments to make about the DCC land. Did anybody get time to read the report? It just came in a couple of hours before the meeting.
I had a very quick look at it, Kath. I can't say that I digested it because I've been on a borough council meeting before
Right.
this. But I think that is something that it's a report that we've not asked for, but we will perhaps discuss it at the next meeting. It's separate from the hedge that we're now discussing.
The plan that he put forward did include the use of a deadwood hedge. They've used that method on a lot of land of their land to for the same reason, to make a visual barrier between the path and a motorway or a bypass like ours. It was the same reason, was to the same in Bluebell Wood. They've got them up in Bluebell Wood to create a visual barrier, and it's a physical barrier. Nobody can be bothered tramping through them. And they once the bushes are planted, this is all in his report, once the bushes are planted, over the years, the dead wood sort of rots, and it just turns into a boundary of hedges if it's done well enough. But the point he was making, have we got time to go into this, because it was quite lengthy?
Well, I was just going to ask Andy for guidance before Mick came in.
I got a bit of a problem, because what this report and this I haven't asked for it. It's not come through this council. It's great. It's the right guy, but you've gone off on a tangent. You've not put it before the council. It's on our land. We're discussing. You've had people visiting our land and reports commissioned. You've not followed due process. It's the right person.
I haven't commissioned a report, Andy.
What is
He's a member of Sustainable Hayfield. He very kindly came along. He lives in the village. He very kindly came along, and his professional acumen kicked in, because he spotted the ash dieback in all the in 40% of the trees on the DCC land, which was quite a concern to him.
I think, if I may just say, Kath, I think the big mistake here is that you should have consulted with Andy first before you spoke with him and asked him to do anything of this nature.
Right, okay, but
anything like this all the time should be through the clerk, and it protects councillors from he said, she said, etc. So I think that's what. How do you? I've got Mick and then I've got Dave Toff, but Andy, what's your opinion of the best way of addressing this?
The right person, the wrong way. get it back before the April meeting, have a proper read of this report, not a 1 hour. I'll talk to Paul and put to him and ask him correctly. It's not your fault, Kath. I really need to explain it all to you properly, and then commission the report properly so it passes as a council decision and anything we do complies with the law. He's the right guy, unfortunately, just at the wrong time. And I'd ask you to debate in April and have time to digest the report. And I don't question the gentleman's experience at all. I just want to put it in the right order and put it to you as a correct agenda item.
I don't think he ever meant it as a formal report. He just said he would put together his thoughts. So it's turned in. It looks like a formal report because that's the way he operates.
Yeah, it's the right guy.
Before I've got Mick and then Dave Toft and then Jackie. But before any of them, with just clarification, Andy, where do we stand regarding the 25 yards or so that is not our land?
We can't touch it.
We'd have to seek permission, wouldn't we?
Yeah, and we'd need, we'd have to go to DCC or whoever's land it is. You can't muck about with somebody else's land.
No.
Other higher councils, the borough and the county, probably have the power. We haven't got that power.
Right.
They use what the police. I won't bore you, but I suspect they have. We haven't.
Okay, let's go to Mick then. You were first.
All I was going to say, Tony, is that basically what Andy was just saying, if we could defer it to April, it sounds like this Paul Finn guy knows what he's talking about, and we could consider the document, what he's produced in the meantime, and then just bring it up next time. So
I'll take that as a proposal, together with the clerk is asked to contact him, and
I'll second that.
as he sees, and Eva seconded. Dave Toft.
Well, very similar, really. We're not in a position, whatever the rights and wrongs of the document, and because we haven't read it really, so it came late, and it will give Andy time to get everything into order. It would have to be on the next one anyway, whatever. So it sounds as if it would be well worth reading. Yep. So, well, Eva's seconded, hasn't she? But yeah.
Jackie.
Well, sorry, it's on the same theme, really. I was going to suggest that we voted now to commission that report.
Right.
We need to read it.
Yeah. Okay.
I voted to commission it.
So it's been proposed. That's been proposed by Mick, seconded by Eva. All those in favour that we defer it and give the clerk a chance to. Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you, everybody.
But hang on, Chair. Sorry, but is Jackie yours as a proposal as well that we commission it now and then?
Yes.
And then it's formal and we can read it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I second that.
Yeah, I thought that was what was part of Mick's.
Oh, sorry.
Basically the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
okay. I think we're all in the same place.
Yeah.
Jackie.
And meanwhile, the clerk could also clarify the position with the remaining fence that's probably on DCC land. I haven't been to see it myself, but I'm guessing.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm sure Andy will get the information for us for the next meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
Item 16 is the village entrance appearance. Is this you, Eva? Sorry, Dave.
Yes.
No, that was surrounding the report, wasn't it? I don't think, have we decided anything on the thing that Andy has brought back to us, which is that we've already passed something about the hedge?
Well,
and he now thinks that we didn't have the information we needed. We've not actually addressed that, have we?
No, well, to be truthful, I was trying to gloss over that a little bit.
There are some problems with that.
That's the fact that we have made a decision already, and we are now saying, well, we need to look at that again. Even though 6 months hasn't elapsed. I think we could get away with that by the skin of our teeth by saying we didn't have the full information to hand when that decision was taken, and new information has come to hand. So,
works in the criminal law, that. Not quite sure.
Who would want to
Well,
reconsider it?
I'll be in
Let's gloss
style.
over it.
I'll be in
Let's
style
gloss
prison
over
the
it.
way I'm going. Yeah.
As I was saying, item 16, village entrance appearance. Is this you, Eva?
Yes, it's coming off the bypass into the village by the old quad. It's been going on for a long time. Vehicles are going on the grass and making it very unsightly. What's the best solution we do to make it more presentable and stop this happening?
Anybody got any suggestions or response to Eva?
I'm not familiar where I came to co-op was out. So
But if you
do
come
mean-
down the bypass,
yeah,
you don't turn off at the first turning, you turn off at the second.
the top
As you
one.
come, as
No,
you
the
come
bottom.
round the corner, they're mounting the grass. And we've a cultivation licence on that, I think, haven't we, Andy?
You sort of make it out there. Try
Yes.
it. I think
Yeah.
one side's the bypass. The red hatched is our cultivation license, and you see the main turn off the bypass, Nick. I'm trying.
Oh,
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
The two-way road into the village.
Yeah,
You pass the building on the left-hand side where the architects or whatever are, and then it's the piece of ground just afterwards. There was for a while a four-wheel drive that used to regularly park on there, which was marked up with high peak radio. That seems to have been replaced by another vehicle or two now. That seems to.
I know what you
always
mean now. Yeah.
Tony, it's always had stumps there. And they just knocked them
Yeah.
over. And it's been repaired endless times, as Leisha's backing me. And it needs something doing desperately.
If the stumps were put in concrete, would that stop them?
I would think so. And I did point out the other day, when we had the farm, they came and got, I'm not sure whether it's 3 or 4 black stumps, which were removed from near the old bank house. They would be ideal there.
Haven't you already installed those?
Just through the chair, Jackie, I've got Mick
Oh,
that's
sorry.
indicated he wants to speak. I'll come back to you
Um,
after Mick. Mick, you raised
I'll
your
go,
hand.
shall I? Yeah, I was going to say, you know those large barrels you can have with a lot of soil and nice flowers coming out the top? Would they be something we could
No.
use? Because they're quite pretty, aren't they?
No, it's too near the edge.
Oh, is it? You wouldn't be able to fit them in, no?
Go on, respond to that, Eva, before Jackie comes in.
I think those did knock those over. If we had the stumps, I don't think they've ever been used, but I might be wrong. Those would be ideal because they would think twice before they'd make more observation of coming round the corner if they thought those stumps were there.
Okay, Jackie and then Lisa. Jackie.
There are some stumps that have been relatively recently installed in that area, but they're at the top. If you've got New Mills behind you, you go up the slope, and the stumps are on the right-hand side to stop somebody habitually parking on the grass at the top there.
Right.
I don't know if you had any more stumps, Eva, but I think there's about 4 there.
Lisa, I'll come back to you in a bit.
Yeah, I was going to say the same as Jackie. Those stumps, there are a couple of stumps there. I don't know that we use them all though, but they are more substantial. They'd be better.
Is there an alternative to stumps? Because whilst they're quite effective if they're in concrete, they're not the most attractive for you when you're entering the village, are
No,
So that's what I was hinting at, if we had something more sightly.
they?
it's a bit difficult where it is, I think.
Yeah,
Could we? Would it be possible to buy an attractive concrete flower bed, fill it with soil? It's more work for the gardeners, but the weight of it, A, being concrete and B, with the soil in it, would that possibly be a more attractive proposition. Secondly, much more expensive would be a large piece of rock with Hayfield put on it. But you know, by the time buying the rock would probably not be expensive. It probably cost you far more to get it transported, let alone the Hayfield being put on it by a stonemason.
Sounds a good idea.
You'd need at least
Eva.
2.
Don't you think if we inquired at some of these quarries, they'd donate some rocks to us? And if it needs a plaque on, maybe we could pay for the plaque between us, Tony, out of our next allowance.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't be averse to that, Eva. Although I have committed 250 already, but I wouldn't be averse to that. Martin.
Well, you've got Hayfield Quarry, which has got big rocks.
Right. Should we ask Andy?
Yes.
To make inquiries about either from Hayfield Quarry, or if they're doing anything. I don't know whether they are at Arden Quarry. If they are doing any excavation there, they might be receptive, because they might see it as a goodwill gesture in view of the furore that there's been over the years about the smell emanating from there. So, should we ask Andy to investigate that?
I propose that, Tony.
Okay, and Dave Toff seconded it. All in favour of that? Thank you. Item 17, Parish Council window display. I think this is you, Kath, isn't it?
It is, yes. I was sort of inspired by the lovely decorations in there over Christmas, and they look sort of black and bleak at the moment. So I was just going to suggest maybe in the left-hand window, I know you need the right-hand window for notices and things, but in the left-hand window, maybe have a photographic display with the logo, the Parish Council logo on it, and some of Dave Toff's wonderful photos showing what we're up to at the present time.
Okay, Eva.
And another point is, a lot of people look in those windows. It'd be a good idea if there was some advice in there for other walks around the village, because they could see them as they look and they'd think, oh, we'll try them instead of walking up Kinder or driving up Kinder.
Lisa, can you hear me?
I just wanted to ask Andy, really, is there enough room? Because sometimes when we've got a lot of notices and elections, he does use both of those windows.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a permanent. It's not. It's rare that I spread the whole distance, but we've got to make room for statutory notices when we have to.
Yeah.
But from my perspective, you're right. The left window is my overflow, Kath. You're absolutely right, and it does look black and bleak at the moment.
Dave Toft.
Yeah, I mean, I think we a few years ago we brought in the A boards, which because an awful lot of people weren't aware of just what is the parish council, you know, in terms of the upkeep of the village. So now when people go around, they take those boards with them, and it says, you know, this is the parish council working for your community. And I think if there's space available, it needn't be a permanent exhibition, but if rather than a blank window, it would be great to have some pictures of what we've done recently, and just keep that updating, a bit like a sort of updated newsletter thing. I mean, obviously we'd take that down when it was needed for other things then. It might encourage people to look at the window as well for when we do put other things in. Yeah.
Steady.
Okay. All right. So how are we going to word this then? The left-hand window be used for displays as decided, as appropriately decided by the clerk.
Yeah. I'll second that.
Okay, you happy with that proposal, Andy? Yeah.
Okay.
All in favour?
highlighting the work of the parish council. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good idea.
I think we're all in favour of that. The 18, the Valley Road Recreation Area football nets. Who wants to talk
I'll
to us
take this on,
about that?
Tony. Yeah.
Okay, Mick.
As you would probably know yourself, Tony, one of the great pleasures when you were youngsters was sticking the ball into the back of the net when you were playing football.
I usually miss Mick, but anyway, carry on.
So what I'm going to ask the council for tonight is, in view of post-COVID, we're going to try and encourage people to keep themselves fit and entertained, etc., as much as we can in the village. And in a nutshell, just to purchase 2 nets for those 2 5-a-side goals which run alongside the cycle park there, and get the gardeners, Graham and the other chap, Chaz, to fit them up. It's going to cost about, I've made a few inquiries, maximum £200, probably a bit less than that actually, probably around about the 150, and we get that so that the local youngsters, because I've seen them kicking about there quite a lot, but they don't stay long, and I get the impression they would do a lot more if there were the nets there and they could enjoy a decent game without kicking the ball way out the field.
Okay, Lisa.
That's what I'm asking for.
Right, thanks.
Absolutely agree. We should do it.
Okay. Do we ever worry about it being vandalised, or about them being vandalised?
Well,
Wait and
I
see.
suppose you take the chance. with
hopefully,
that.
if it's for the kids, they won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Fine. I've also looked at the net since I saw the proposal. You can buy them generally. They come in 3, 4, or 5 millimeter diameter. If they're for professional clubs, they'll have the full 8 millimeter ropes. But I think if we're going to do it, we need to get the 5 millimeter. They will last a lot longer, I'm sure. So should we ask Andy to progress it? I would hope that it would come in well under £200, having looked on the internet.
Yeah.
But with a maximum of cost of £200. Okay, so that's the proposal. All right, all in favour? Yep, that's carried unanimously.
Right.
Thank you. I'm at a bit of a loss with the next one. Post-COVID village amenities. I don't know who's put this on, Andy. It's you, is it, Dave?
It's me, and it's just to start us thinking. Actually, it's a couple of things that prompted it, but we're a very sort of lively village, and a lot of that isn't. I know as a council we can't support individual businesses and so on. And some of those businesses have established themselves during COVID. We've got a new permanent butcher, for instance, who's opening up the new premises, and anything like that is really good. But there's a whole layer of activity in the village where people aren't in that sort of position. I'm thinking, for instance, of the village hall, where a lot of people run things like yoga classes. They don't charge an awful lot of money. They're paying the rent, and some of them might now be struggling to come back. And yet they contribute enormous important activities to the village. Now, that's just one example, and I wanted us to just think. So, for example, somebody was talking to me the other day about it and suggesting, well, would it be possible in some way to support perhaps those smaller things with something like support with their rent for 3 months or something like that? I'm not saying that's legally possible. I have no idea. I'm really asking councillors to have a think, because it would be great if we could support and encourage the recovery as part of that recovery once June the 21st is out of the way and things hopefully are opened up again. There might be people who need encouraging back into things like that. I'm not just thinking of the village hall or anything. That was just an example. But are there things that we could do within the village that would support community activities to come back to the level they were at before?
I suppose what one thing that we could do is we could put an information leaflet out about what is available in the village, you know, such as yoga and Pilates in the and even the shops themselves about what's available. I'm not sure of all the businesses that there must be, people who are working from home, but perhaps we could try and get that information together. And as soon as the COVID restrictions are lifted, we could discuss getting those leaflets out. I'd certainly be happy to contribute. Lisa.
Yeah, remember, I don't have an interest anymore, not being a shopkeeper. But could we put something in a letter or something that says, when these restrictions are over, please carry on using the local shops as people have been doing? Because there is a tendency to slip back and go back to your supermarkets. And it's been great. I think that's one of the reasons that the butchers is managing to open now, you know, in a bigger premises. Just encouraging people, stay local if you can.
Mick.
Yeah, good point, Lisa, because I think that not only is it good for the local businesses, but it's also good for the environment. If people shopping local, not using their cars, and even if the produce at your old shop, for example, you probably know now, if we can get the stuff local, then that means it's more environmentally friendly because it's not had the miles, etc., clocked up in bringing it to the village. So I think that's an excellent idea.
I think all of that's good, but there is, of course, as I say, that level that's even lower down in terms of earnings and so on, where people might need help of some sort. Now, we're very limited what we can do as a council, but I think if we get our thinking caps on and think, say, of putting something on the agenda where we think in between times, if there is anything else that we could do. I think the leaflet's a great idea. And I think Lisa's idea as well, really both very, very important. But there might be other things as well if we start thinking at the moment.
Lisa.
Do that, really.
Lisa.
Obviously, the village representative as well. You could write to the village hall and ask them if there's anything they can do to help people restart. They have quite a heavy bank balance at the moment. They might be, you know, open to suggestions to get people back.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Jackie.
It occurs to me we could support the village hall, even though they have got a good bank balance, and they in turn could reduce the rent for their clients if it would help.
I think the difficulty here is that the government has given, I hope this doesn't sound political, but they're giving a lot of help to a lot of businesses. But some of the smaller ones have fallen through the net. Particularly people who might have started up Pilates classes, dance classes, anything like that. If they started up just before the COVID struck and they don't have their own premises, I think they've been, to a great extent, have been left high and dry. There was a family of four had a gym business on the television this evening. I don't know if anybody saw it, and they're living on universal credit because they didn't qualify for much of the money that was handed out. And yet I was talking to a friend of mine the other day and I asked him how he was doing. He said, "Oh, all this money I've got from the government, my profits are holding up well." So I think there are some that have slipped through the net and are struggling. So I've got Mick and then I've got Dave.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I don't know what our relationship is with the village hall, but one thing which I think we could improve on in the village is providing some form of outlet or entertainment or something along those lines for your age groups between about 12 and 14 and 15. I don't know if we can influence this in any way, but the village hall would, I'm not thinking maybe youth club idea is a little bit old fashioned, but something where the youngsters could go and maybe play table tennis, football, table football machine, maybe a dart board, serve up Coca-Cola. That, I know that was the sort of thing around when I was. I don't know if kids are still even remotely interested in that sort of thing, but I would feel that we would have an outlet maybe in that village hall. It's not massive, but it could be used. Well, I'm saying, could it be used in some way to attract local youngsters to a youth club type scenario? I don't know.
Okay, Dave Toft and then Eva.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking on a different line here. I mean, I think that's a sort of different discussion. I'm thinking of sort of businesses that, like you mentioned, yoga teachers and so on, who and we have one in the village who was starting to build up a clientele there in exactly the circumstances you're saying, wouldn't qualify for furlough, wouldn't qualify for any of the grants. They will slip through the net. I mean, some of these people are charging perhaps £5 or £6 with social distancing. There's a limit already on what they can make from it. Then they've got the rent for the village hall. So really, it's not a proposal specifically tonight, but there's three things come out of that. I think, I don't know whether we're in a position to propose them or not, but one, that we approach the village hall with a view to some sort of rent subsidy for 3 or 4 months or something to encourage people back, and leaflets letting people know what we have got and encouraging them to keep using those local facilities. I mean, are we able to propose that the clerk investigates that?
I think we are. We could ask the clerk to enter into discussions with the village hall and report back as he sees fit. In other words, if there's nothing to report, don't come back to us. And also investigate contacting businesses, although these things are always precarious, because if you miss one business out, the doo-doo hits the fan, you know. So there is a risk attached to that. But I see no reason why we couldn't make that as a proposal. Ask Andy to investigate it. Sorry?
Can I speak, please?
Yeah.
I think we've got to be very, very careful when we get involved with businesses. And also, don't forget, there's the church hall. I was chair of Village Hall 11 years, and we used to do things with the youth and all sorts of things, but they seem to drift away because they've got the bikes and the games and all the rest of it. But I think also, you know, you should support the church hall, because that's a decent sized room too.
Okay. Lisa.
I've missed this, but are we not having a newsletter soon? Sure, donate a lot of the text to about supporting the businesses. I'm not going to give them money, but just reminding people of what we've got. Are we having a newsletter anytime? And you can also ask about the youth thing, see if there's any interest.
And Andy, would you respond to Lisa about a newsletter, please?
You're well overdue one. Well overdue one. No one's
Sorry, Andy.
Recently. Just take your, yeah, nice ideas. If anyone with a bit more publishing knowledge than me would like to help me, I'm quite happy. I'm looking at you here, Dave. You can tell that.
I'll do that.
If you propose that we start to put together a newsletter with a slant of giving a goodly proportion to supporting local businesses, then I'm happy to proceed. In terms of legality, from what you discussed, Jackie hit the nail on the head. in that under 137 and various other acts, we can support a community organisation or group or building such as the church or the village hall, and they could use whatever limited support that we're able to give to pass that support on to small businesses to get back on the feet. So there is a legal avenue there for that. And if you propose, yeah, I'm happy to crack on with the newsletter supported by Mr. Toft.
So I'll propose that. And could you also contact the village hall and the church hall?
Yeah.
With those ideas, Andy, and see what they think.
You almost basically say we are open to applications to get you back on your feet. And if the purpose of your application is to allow you to make life easier for the small business person, the small community group, then it fits nicely in with a number of laws. As long as we're not seen to support an individual business, individual person.
Yeah, no, I'm not proposing we do that, but ways of hoping that they're more community than business in that sense. So
well, that's both church and village hall. That's easily done.
And we could ask them in what way they would assist the organisations and businesses.
Yeah.
Mick's got his hand up, and then Eva.
Could Dave and Andy always or have an official deadline date for publication so that we can get stuff to them that goes in the newsletter? So are we going to have it on a monthly basis, or is it going to be just all? How we
late now?
Well, could you always let us know, Dave, if you're going to be the publisher?
Well, I won't be the publisher, but I'll work with Andy on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you keep us
informed. There's a lot of work in it, of course, but
I think we have to look at the roadmap.
You're the man for it, Dave.
Look at the government roadmap. Between us, we'll choose the most impactful time period to coincide with the roadmap.
Yeah.
And newsletters normally used to be quarterly, and boy, they're
quarterly. Good.
That it's a job and a half though, getting it together quarterly.
Yeah.
Eva.
I think it needs to be done very carefully, that we don't commit ourselves. And one point I'd like to raise is I do mustard seeds, and this is something that is really important to the village, to the young mums and people with toddlers. They really were dependent on that, and we're hoping to bring it back to the village.
So Dave's made a proposal. I'll second it. We ask we ask Andy to investigate the options available to us. I'll second that. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 20 is the Set Valley Trail. Now we have had a resident with a letter. Do you want to give us which we've all received, but give us a bit of a highlight, Andy, will you please?
Yeah. I had meant to start a thing where any correspondence received from parishioners with a lack of public speaking, I would read a synopsis at the beginning. We've only got one this month, which relates to this item. And the synopsis was that the writer was concerned about the woodland management of the Set Valley Trail and had a number of communications with the head of DCC's Countryside Service with a number of factors. And over these winter months, has noted all the tree felling on the Set Valley Trail, starting at Hayfield End, and feels the appearance is not looking good. Ugly tree stumps, branches left all over the place, shavings smothering the grounds. She was told this was to prevent ash dieback, but believes that more than ash has been cut down. She's very concerned that what was being done should be consistent with current ecological environmental management guidelines, and didn't feel that the explanation she was given for what was happening on the trail was holding water, and believed it was inconsistent with DCC's own published policies. She points out a very valid point that the Set Valley Trail attracts thousands and thousands of walkers and is the gateway to our village, and feels at the moment it's looking rather unattractive, and also feels that Hayfield is not receiving the amount of care that DCC could give it in comparison to other more high profile villages within the High Peak. The writer is proud of the village and wished to present it in the best appearance for all visitors, and questions DCC's commitment to us as a major tourism attraction. And the email finished asking whether it was possible or reasonable for the parish council to request someone from DCC attend, either in person or virtually, to explain and justify what they're doing, how they're doing it, and what the plans are for the habitat. So you then see resolution or agenda item 20 in front of you. Over to you, Chair.
Okay, the only comment I would make is that I would be staggered if they cut back trees unless authorised to do so by the county arboricultural officer, because I know in the past there have been issues where the county have taken steps and indeed prosecuted people for cutting down trees without permission. So that I would be surprised, but you know, been surprised more than once in my life. Mick, you've got your hand up, and then Kath.
I mean, you're probably right on that. It's just that the actual, as soon as you leave the village and walk up toward New Mills, the first part of it is now, it's not very attractive at all. It's been, there's an awful lot of trees cut down to stump level. It just looks a bit of a mess at the minute. And I think the email was spot on. It just do with clarification from the person who's in charge of the maintenance of that area. Is it consistent with the environmental and whatever regulations? Because it doesn't look good. And it's definitely declined in the last sort of year or so. They've cut down quite a lot. Whether it was due with the ash dieback, I don't know. But me and Kath the other day with a couple of others were out there planting small little trees that we were given by Sustainable Hayfield, I think it was. And just generally speaking, it looked very barren and not very good. It really needs, I think the email was justified, and I think we should act on it personally.
Kath.
My understanding is that it's part of the ash dieback strategy for Derbyshire by DCC, and they are prioritising areas that are next to footpaths because there's ash dieback right across the county. So some of them will just be left to their own to die or survive, whatever. But areas where there's a considerable number of ash trees near a footpath are getting prioritised. Now, this would be, I think it's a 2-year project to redo the whole landscape without the ash in. They thin the trees out and put more vegetation down to let more light in, so it increases the biodiversity. It looks a mess in the short term, but it's about a 2-year project and till stuff starts growing. Now, my understanding is that they would treat the side of the footpath to the school on the old school field in exactly the same manner if they decided to prioritise that because it was next to a footpath. So, yeah, it looks a mess in the short term, but I think they have a strategy for how they manage it, and they're working to make the environment better than it was before.
Well, shall we just ask Andy to investigate this and report back to us at a future meeting?
Yeah, second.
You mean write a letter, yeah?
Well, I think contact them and try and contact them, speak to them by Zoom. It's whoever's responsible, and it would also be an added bonus if the responsible tree officer was there to advise. But yeah, basically, to try and have a Zoom meeting, if not a written response. But I think to be able to ask the questions, and we've got the answer for the resident and for ourselves, because you know there's obviously some concern within the parish council. So that's been proposed and seconded. All those in favour of that? Thank you. Group reports. Little Hayfield advisory. Do you want to add anything other than the Q report, Andy?
No, we did the day's work. I think you and I are really going to have to bite the bullet. I'm going to look back at previous meeting timetables, and I'm going to schedule a Zoom for us when the next proper meeting would have taken place. I think we're going to do it. And
okay, that's fine. Traffic management committee. We had a meeting to discuss the immediate problem of parking and trying to reduce it. Do you want to talk about the conclusions of that meeting, Andy?
Yes, the conclusions were not looking to long-term strategies, but the idea was could we get our obvious partners together, which would be the police, and by the police I mean those who have the powers to not just talk and engage, but those to prosecute, the traffic enforcement officers for the yellow lines from DCC. We would also, I'm going to lose it now, we want to get an officer from highways as well, and we'd like to have a meeting with someone from the Peak District National Park. Ideas we were floating was the extension of restrictions for tough days, to start looking at real-time information for visitors approaching the village, so they don't just turn up when it's full and then they'll just park wherever they can. We're looking for any ideas from our partners. There's not a lot we can do as a parish council other than supply. We are allowed by law to assist with financing traffic calming measures, but to see if they could come up with any real ideas now, 3 months before the roadmap comes to fruition and we get hit again. And we thought if we get in early, although we don't think we can solve it, we could hopefully alleviate and not end up with the gridlock days we could end up with. And that's what I'm trying to do at the moment, is get the key partners to sit down on a Zoom with our traffic committee and the chair. And the idea of the meeting was that we would have a set position concentrating on the immediate issues facing us this summer. Councillors can add to that.
Dave Toft.
Yeah, I think the idea was, I mean, nobody's going to wave a magic wand and cure all the traffic problems in a village that was built before cars were invented. But there is a feeling that we're sometimes, I think, in Hayfield, on the periphery of the vision, certainly of DCC. And the thinking behind the group was that if we were to get representatives from DCC, the police, highways and so on, and start discussing the sorts of things we know are going to happen, rather than just reacting when they happen, we'll be higher up their list, if you like. I mean, we'll be bringing ourselves to their notice. We'll be showing them that we've thought about it, and we'll be getting them to give us answers, really. And those answers, we could hold them to, whatever they are and however vague they are. And I think we were thinking of a meeting really as soon as we could get that, Andy.
Yeah, as soon as I could get the names and fire it out, just get in at the, I'd say, at front of the queue.
Yeah.
You say, right, open a dialogue now rather than waiting for chaos.
Eva.
Yeah, I think we came to the conclusion that we'll never solve it, but if we start at the top and start early, we might prevent a lot of problems. Yeah. And I think it worked out very well. We can't plan for all the problems in the village, but the ones that could come during this summer period.
Lisa.
Well, there's no easy ways there. Obviously, you can prosecute people who are parked on double yellow lines, but on one hand, we're supporting walkers are welcome and information vans, and in the next thing, we're saying, actually, we don't want you to come. We've got to be very careful here. I think like Eva's right, this has gone on for years. I think there's a very easy solution, especially at the moment.
Dave Gates.
Just the use of the old school playing fields.
That's your insurance, I would imagine, would be a nightmare.
I think the problem is, Dave, that they got Kinder Road, they'll park on Kinder Road, they'll park on Valley Road to a lesser extent, so that they have less, they don't have to walk as far up to Kinder, and secondly, they don't have to pay anything, because you know, people who are quite generous by nature, they're tight as whatnot when it comes to paying parking fees. You walk in the pub, they'll buy you a pint without thinking about it, but ask them to put £1 in a parking machine and they go white. So I think that's one very small thing that we discussed was changing the signage on the car park from Set Valley car park to Hayfield car park. As Dave says, there's no magic wand here.
No.
But if we adopt the old-fashioned adage that the screaming baby gets fed first, I think that in some ways is an achievement. You want to come back, Lisa?
Yeah, just Dave, your points about a lot of people are always asking me about the old school field. I don't think they think how that would work. How would it be policed? Who would open the gates, shut the gates, make sure they don't park on the grass? Who'd be responsible for any insurance if there was any accidents? I think there's a whole range of things there that could go really badly wrong.
Sorry, right, Lisa.
I don't think it's viable.
Dave Toft. Dave Toft.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and I mean, I think what we've got to accept is we're going to be a village that gets lots of visitors. It's not just to do with walkers or walkers are welcome. And we always have had. The village has always, since the 1930s earlier, had hundreds, possibly thousands coming out here. And we're not going to be able to wave a magic wand, but even small things. I mean, I hadn't realised that the car park is signpost, Set Valley Trail car park. Well, no wonder a lot of people just go past it if they're heading for the village. And we haven't got the answers, but we've got some ideas. And we're going to be talking to people who might have other ideas, or at least will be thinking about the sort of problems we've got in advance. I mean, I think it can only be a good thing to talk to them and take that proactive route, really, at the moment.
There's
because we know it's going to happen.
Did you say me, Tony?
Yeah, please.
This was something which I didn't actually bring to the meeting on Monday, I think it was. Concentrated mainly on some other aspects in the village at the time, but something which none of us actually mentioned at that meeting, which I think is worth considering and worth sort of focusing on, and that is the public transport options of getting people to the village. If we could somehow not discourage, but deter, whatever you like, so many cars coming to the village by encouraging people to use public transport. I know the train station's not there anymore. Apparently we used to get thousands and thousands of villagers via the Hayfield railway station, but is there some angle we could pursue with some of the bus companies that run from New Mills to Hayfield and try to get sort of a lot of people coming to the village in that regard?
I think because the bus companies will tell you that there's insufficient demand, which is a bit of a chicken and egg situation, in that if you look at people at the buses, particularly outside peak times, and you will see just one or two people on the buses. I mean, people who are a good bit older than me told me years ago that the number of people coming to Hayfield has actually reduced over the years. The difference now is they come by car, then they're coming by public transport, or as it was in the main, on the railways. But of course, we aren't about to get a rail line anytime soon. To name but one thing, the health centre and the Set Valley surgery are rather in the way in New Mills, and of course we'd lose the Set Valley Trail. But leaving that aside, I don't think there's much that we can do in terms of the bus companies. I think if there were twice as many buses available, which is an argument that a lot of people put forward, I think in some areas that is true, but I honestly believe that in Hayfield that would just increase the losses, and I don't think the county council would be prepared to take that loss. I think it's an inevitable financial decision. You want to come back on that, Mick?
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's some angle we could pursue in terms of if we're encouraging people into the village. In other words, get information out there that your best bet to come to Hayfield is via public transport. Leave your cars at home and travel to the village, enjoy your day, and leave on public transport. I know it's not going to affect everybody. It could even have a 10% reaction. And what Dave was saying earlier about the businesses, could we in some way, as a parish council, maybe link up? This is off the top of my head, by the way, I've only just thought of this. Some way link up with the, there is a public transport guy, taxi chap, is it called Dial a Cab or something? Can't remember, but I don't, in some way link up with them to provide some sort of service from New Mills to Hayfield, and maybe there we could contribute financially. I don't know the legality of that at all, but anything to reduce the number of cars coming into the village.
Well, I don't think that was what we discussed.
No, it wasn't.
If you want to bring it to the next meeting, I think we should.
But do you think there's mileage in pursuing?
Quite honestly, I don't think there is, Mick, but I'm prepared to discuss it and listen to other people's points of views, and if there's anything I've not thought of, but I will be very surprised, quite honestly.
Any other councillors on that point? I don't know.
I don't think, I think it's a no-go, that.
I understand Eva's against, but...
I'm going to bring in Dave Toft, and then I'm going to bring in Jackie, and then I think it's time and Lisa, and then we'll move on.
Well, I think what we're saying is that we need to propose really that council think it's a good idea for us to call this meeting, and
that's it.
Yeah,
so I'll propose that.
Okay, thanks. All right, Eva. Lisa. Oh no, was it Jackie second? I'm sorry.
I just wanted to agree with Mick. Sorry.
Go on.
That we should try and promote public transport in some way or another.
Yeah.
Okay. Jackie, were you the other one? I'm sorry, I lost track.
That's okay. I was just going to ask about the state of the weekend buses, because once upon a time, buses used to set off from places like Rochdale and Huddersfield and drive right through the Peak District. And it let people first of all, come from the towns and cities to the Peak District, but also it let you do linear walks instead of having to always do a circular walk.
Yeah.
But they were struggling to find passengers. I mean, at one time it was 2 full days of good buses, and they were coming up from Nottingham and in from Sheffield and so forth. So you could get all over the Peak District. And then they cut back on the Saturday buses because people went shopping on Saturdays. And I think even the Sunday buses are a shadow of their former selves. And I think that's such a shame, because
I agree, Jackie.
I think we're moving slightly in a different direction, but just I do know that from being involved at the borough, we had discussions with the Peak Park because we were disappointed as a borough council. This has nothing to do with Hayfield, but we were disappointed that the Peak Park had turned down a planning application for a hotel in Bakewell because we felt that what was happening is that in places like Castleton, people driving in from Sheffield, dumping their cars, maybe have a 5-minute walk, then go to the pub or go to the coffee shop, get in the cars and drive back home again. They it was causing road congestion without any real financial benefit to the borough. And as it so happens, the hotel was approved on appeal, but that is the difficulty, that we are, as a village, not getting much financial advantage, but we are getting the roads cluttered and everything else that that comes with it. Legal parking in areas that might be judged to be just about legal, but it makes it difficult for emergency vehicles to get through, or indeed sometimes bin wagons can't empty the bins. So it is an issue, but I'm going to go back to today's proposal that we take the recommendation.
Could I make one more point?
No, I'm not going to take any more, Mick, because other people, I've said I was going to take those three. I'm going to second that. So all those in favour, please.
What?
As the proposal as Dave set out, that we've contacted those organisations and arrange a meeting as soon as we possibly can. Okay, that's carried by a majority. Thank you. The Climate Emergency Group. Andy, do you want to say anything about that?
No, they're not met in February. Have you met?
No, we didn't meet last month.
You're meeting on the 10th.
It was just basically, I've got to report back to them now that we've passed the logo on the decarbonise leaflets. But no, apart from what I said last month, there's nothing to report new on that.
Can I ask a question on this? We engaged with Climate Emergency Group, as my understanding was to seek their guidance from Parish Council on how we could reduce our carbon footprint, including CO2 emissions. Now that work has been finished, was that a task and finish group? I mean, should we be continuing and supporting via the clerk, or is that work done?
Are you asking me? Yeah.
I'm looking for the terms of reference. Can't find it.
Well, let's leave it for now, and we'll bring.
My understanding was
the
the remit
meeting.
was far bigger than just decarbonising the office.
Okay, right. Well, we'll look at the terms of reference. Mick, did you want to make a point?
No, just to share with Kath that I think the remit, as far as I was concerned, was to always keep the environment and the carbon emergency at the forefront of our thinking in our policies, etc., and to make recommendations back to the council for consideration.
Okay. Well, we'll look into it. If you're right, fine. I may have misunderstood. Excuse me. Any reports from outside bodies? Nothing to report?
Not really, except the football one, Tony. I haven't got the actual figures in front of me, but just to report back, I'm not sure if I've already done this, but they've got a substantial backing from the Football Foundation now and other groups for levelling the pitches completely.
Well done.
And I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of pounds now, not like what they spent to do superficial draining. They've now they level the whole thing from top to bottom and have two really good pitches. So progress, really good progress. I don't know when the work's going to start, but the actual the money is there for them when they need
well
it.
Done.
Well done. Where are they?
Really,
vis-a-vis the changing rooms, Mick?
Changing rooms, that's something separate. I'm talking about the pitches now.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Leveling them. The actual the changing rooms and the club that they were going to do, that I think is going to be on the back burner. But just to get football up and running, I don't know how long it's going to take this work, but it's good news that they've got the grants and whatever to do the work now.
Yeah, it probably take a long time, and a long time for the ground to heal, as it were.
Possibly, Tony. Yeah.
I know.
Good news.
I know when we did drainage work in in Chapel. When I was involved with Chapel Juniors, we dug new drains and put in new drains, but it took quite some time before the pitch dried out. That was without any levelling work or anything. So
yeah.
it
I think they're going to have a lot of heavy machinery in there as well, dirt diggers and all that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Nothing else. Arden Quarry been very quiet, very little road traffic, despite comments by one or two residents. However, I reported that it was smelling Saturday and Sunday, and you can smell it in the area. Nothing else to report?
No, not from Hayfield.
No.
Okay. Finance and accounts for payment. We've all had the information from Andy. I think we just need to note them, don't we?
Yeah, they're in the public domain. Note them. If you've got any questions for me, let me know. And the key details will be with the minutes when they're published. There's almost duplicity, I know, but any questions, please put them in.
Okay, I propose we note them. Will somebody second that?
Yes.
I'll second them.
Thanks, Jackie. All in favour? Thank you. All right, and that brings us to the date of the next meeting, which will be the 7th of April, will it not, Andy?
Oh, you're ahead of me.
Did you have also the number 14 you were going to bring, weren't you? Or was that
that's coming back under part 2.
Oh, right.
It will be Wednesday, the 7th of April. You're absolutely right. With your agreement, I'll stop the live stream and you can move to part 2.
If you would, please. I suppose I should go through the thing that public and press be prohibited as the matter before us is confidential.